Let's go now to a South African and UK-based giant, and certainly the largest asset manager pure play in this space. Although it's interesting that we're having it in this group because it's really a bank, and that's Investec. Historically, a bank, investment banking, big part of its business, corporate finance, and then over the years, and I'm talking decades, it's grown its business in private banking, which is of course high net worth individuals, and asset management. Under Hendrik du Toit, this group really has established itself as a global player. It's got a big business in the UK, and that's a combination of third-party funds as well as big investment management for its high net worth individuals. Market capitalization, and remember here you have to add the INLs and INPs, we'll go into that in a minute, is 98.3 billion rand, so certainly first division scale in our market. And then it's on a price earnings ratio of 12.45 and a dividend yield of 3.89%. So Chris, you've been around long enough. You must remember the old days when Steve Kosef and the Cantors and the Hermans and all those put this group together.
Yep, absolutely back. And the guy came here in the 80s, and by then, it was a relatively niche operation. Certainly wasn't listed, and they were operating from offices down there in Doornfontein.
Fox Street or something.
That's right. And always highly entrepreneurial. And I think that entrepreneurial flair has carried forward to today. As you say, it's categorized as a bank, and yet it's in terms of its actual categorization in the JSE, it's not in there with the big four. It's specialized finance or something like that.
Yes.
And I think that's probably the correct place to be. Because they're in quite a few geographical jurisdictions around the world. They're in London, they're in Johannesburg, I think they're in Israel, they're in Australia.
Although their businesses in those domains have been somewhat scaled.
Yeah, scaled back, yes. So it's mainly London and the UK. Sorry, London and South Africa.
Yeah.
So now look, I've always liked this operation, and although they got their fingers burned a few years ago with Kensington in London, the kind of subprime business, they've bounced back. And as you say, I think the most exciting part of the business here is the asset management side. It really has been a great performer.
Because they bought Guinness Flight about, I don't know, it must have been 15 years ago, and then they used that as a bridgehead to get into, asset management with a big UK-based kind of flavour. So they're a first division player in global asset management. I don't even know how many trillions of rands worth of money they've got under management. Big player here in South Africa. And then, of course, they aggregate assets from their private clients, from corporate investment and employee benefit type schemes, and they bring that in. They've got a business which has got asset management offices in Cape Town mostly, and then in London as well. So, I mean, it's high margin, it's annuity revenue, it's all of those things. The only small issue I will raise is that a couple of years ago they did a deal with Hendrik du Toit and his colleagues where those guys got a chance to buy into the business. So you just need to be aware that they don't participate in the full financial flows from that particular operation.
Yes.
But the way they sold it to the market at the time was that they needed to retain the talent.
And that's right, to make sure that they are completely aligned with the business. And by Jove, there's no doubt they're very aligned. Yes.
What I notice when I look at clients, because sometimes we poach, steal, obtain, get clients that were at Investec Asset Management. What they normally have is local portfolios, which look pretty solid. I will say occasionally they own Investec stock and some of Investec's corporate banking client stock, which is not always a plus. And then they have these offshore fund of funds, feeder fund things. Investec are quite fond of structured products, and I assume that's because they have very high margins, right?
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
by high margins, I mean that the bank earns a lot of money selling them to the clients.
Yes, it's cross-selling. No, it's and look, I think most of the banks are involved in that, so it's not unique to Investec.
Look, we've been going on a bit, but what's the share chart look like? There it is. Now, we own some of these in the portfolio. We bought them at about 104 rands a share. They're currently trading at about 107 rands a share. Remember, lots of pound-based earnings. So when they report results in rands, that will look good because the pound is 21 or whatever it is to the rand. Hot or not?
One thing you got to bear in mind here, I think the pound may be a little bit weak leading up until this Brexit vote on the 23rd of June. And if the UK pulls out of the EU, then the pound could sag, I think, could take a real beating. That's my only real concern. I like this stock, and I'm actually quite hot on it.
Okay, but on that issue, let's just pause for a while. What is your base case? Do you think the Brexit thing's going to happen or not?
I think a dose of reality will come in and the Brits will vote to stay in, but I think it's going to be a close call. If you look at the polls, and don't forget the pollsters got it wrong, very, very badly wrong this time, almost exactly a year ago. No, in the UK election last year.
Oh, that. Okay, yes, good
They got
point.
it badly wrong, so they could be getting this one wrong as well.
But
So
the
I think
polls have been discredited, but the prediction markets, which have got their reputations burnished, they actually said that they thought that the election would go the way of the Tories, and it did. The prediction markets in this instance are saying that they think that the Brits will vote to stay in.
Yeah, I think they will, and I think it'll be a close call, but I think they will stay. Yeah, which means that the pound will, it won't sag.
Okay, good. Well, look, we do own these things, but we'll consider the investment of the day implications in a minute. As far as Investec's concerned, I would say I'm also warm on this one. I think they will continue to do well, so hot on that.